everyone, welcome to School of Scarlet. I'm so happy to have you here today. So today we're going to be talking about why you should follow your depression rather than your bliss. So many times in the spiritual community we hear follow our bliss. I've even talked about bliss or focused more on bliss, maybe more so than depression. Although if you really watch most of my videos, I actually talk about both. So today I'm going to focus on depression for you, and I'm going to explain it to you because so many people that are experiencing things like depression, shame, guilt, those kinds of things that keep you in what they call this lower vibration, experience basically this feeling of being unworthy, not being good enough, not being able to maintain those high vibrations that are supposedly so needed to spiritually ascend or to really get anywhere in life, right? So they feel like everything's against them. And the truth is, it's not that way. It's just that society, it's just that people have labeled depression as something bad because they're observing it in a certain way. But there are cultures, especially Native American cultures, that see mental illness, specifically depression, as a spiritual gift. The people that are showing the highest levels of depression or that kind of despair, they're seen as the next leader, the next spiritual leader of that tribe, because they recognize that going into the far polarity of depression expands the person on either polarity in such way. So people that have been through, we could say, hard times, generally you could say also have big hearts, right? It depends. But a lot of times that's the case because they have been through something. They've transmuted that back into love and they've made it. They're still here, right? And so they've been through those hard times. They can also empathize with someone else that has been through that. So for myself, I can say that that would be the case with depression as well. I will link a video down below about basically how to die now, the dark night of the soul, which is depression to this level that I'm speaking of. So I'll link that down below. If you have not watched that video, you have to watch that video. So I've linked it down in the comments and in the description for you. Go ahead and head over there and watch that after you finish this video. So depression basically makes you feel powerless, makes you feel small, makes you feel like you literally cannot do anything. You can't do what is required here on this earth. It doesn't seem that you measure up. It doesn't seem that you measure up to the standards of what people want in employment. It doesn't seem that you measure up to the standards of what's needed in a relationship. It doesn't even feel like you meet up to the standards to be a parent or caretaker of a pet or whatever. So it begins to feel like this burden that pushes you down, makes you feel very small. And pay attention to this. When we have these emotions that we consider lower, we literally feel dense. We literally feel heavy. That's the feeling that we feel within our bodies. When we feel joyous, happy, and laughter, don't we feel more kind of airy and we're open with our bodies and we're moving and flowing more? Whereas when we're in depression, we're constricting, we're kind of closing ourselves off, we're keeping ourselves hidden, we're hiding ourselves. You know, there's all of these things that we begin to exhibit when we are feeling depressed or low. So we're seeing all of these things. Now, so what's happening is truly that. It's an energetic field, your power, coming all tightly in, constricted, kind of like that cocoon. So you're pulling everything in to this introspection to look at it. And that's what's happening. It's like an energetic cocoon that you're creating for yourself. And now everything that you thought you are, is there. And you have to begin to look at it all. And you're seeing that it's pretty ugly. It's not what you thought. You're starting to get angry. And this is why I want you to follow your depression. Because as you follow your depression and bring it all in and accept that you are depressed and you sit in it and you look into what is your life, what you have created here on this earth. And even if you see it as bad, even if you see it as ugly, even if you see it as messed up, don't judge it. Just allow that feeling to come. If you feel like it's a messed up life you've created, say that. I created a messed up life. Scream it, whatever you need to do. Allow yourself to feel all of the feelings of depression. If you do not allow yourself and you resist depression, you will live in depression the rest of your life. So you have to allow depression to be there. Allow it. It has a place in this world, and it has a very special place in your life, because you see, if you don't begin to accept it, it will remain there as a permanent visitor in your life. But as we begin to accept it and look at that, look at that, look at that, look at all these things that I say are making me depressed. Look at that thing that made me feel so sad. Look how they treated me, and this is why I'm sad. They don't treat me well, and this is why I feel horrible. Look at all of those things, unravel it, look at it. And after a while, you look at all of this and you'll be like, oh my God, I'm so angry. And so you get angry with those people at first. First, it's those people. They're the ones that put me in this depression. If they would have treated me right, if they would have done this for me, if they wouldn't have shunned me, if whatever. So we begin to point fingers and get really angry. I want you, if you're in depression, allow this. Allow the anger to come. This has a place here. It's important to allow things to move fluidly. Otherwise, we're going to stay stagnant and you will stay in a depression loop. So allow whatever comes to happen. So first, these are the usual stages. We get angry with others. We start pointing fingers and we start feeling bad. But as we start looking at all of those things they did and everything that's happened, and we can zoom out, kind of like this meta view, we begin to see kind of like this common denominator and this programming distortion that's been running through our lives. And we begin to identify it. And we begin to introspect on how that's created a lot of what's happened here. And now the anger switches. And it switches to you. And now you are angry with yourself for allowing yourself these situations over and over and over again. Allowing yourself to be blinded to these things that are so clear to you now. So it begins an anger toward yourself. Allow that. Allow yourself to get angry with yourself. So angry with yourself. Because there will be a breaking point where you will get so fed up with yourself that old version of yourself, which I consider a false created programmed version of yourself, will die. And what do I mean by die? I'm not talking about a physical death here. I'm talking about an energetic death of a character that you created to please the world. A false character that is not your true authentic self that's in your heart. So that portion of you will die. It will be exhausted. We will see through that and say, we thought we were that. We built that character and we thought that was how we needed to be, but they messed up. That character, that false self, is not the life I want. I don't want that messed up life. So scrap it. And so you get rid of that. And it's not a conscious thing. This is just all happening. It could be conscious for you. It wasn't conscious for me and most people, but it happens. It's an energetic cleansing that now that is out. And so what remains? It's the unknown. We don't know because this is new to us. We've so long abided in this constructed false version of ourselves that as soon as we begin to connect with our hearts, it's a little scary. We don't know what the next step is. We feel like a fish out of water. We've lived in the ocean for years and all of our life, and suddenly, bloop, we're on land. And it's like, what do I do? Because we're so used to using the brain to plan, to make lists, to strategize, to manipulate. And none of that is available anymore, because as soon as we get rid of that false self, all we have is the heart. And the heart doesn't play in those games. It doesn't even know those games. They don't even exist in the heart. There's no polarity there. It's not trying to win one over. It's not trying to plan out this amazing life for you. It already knows everything about you, and it's trying to deliver to you those beautiful experiences that bring joy and all of these things. But I want you to forget connecting with bliss, because so many times in our spiritual journey, in our life, we're told, why don't you just be happy? Why don't you smile? Why are you always sad? People are always kind of blaming and downing people when they're in this depression. But I'm here to tell you that is one of your greatest gifts. And if you allow it to be there and to show you why it's there, you will totally transcend into what I call heaven on earth, really. It's heaven on earth. And you wouldn't know it, but heaven is here and now, and it's always been here, but we haven't been connected to it at all because we've been living in, I call it the brain and programming and lots of things, and we haven't connected with our truest self. Our truest self is our authentic self. And anytime we're out of alignment with our authentic self, we're in distortions, we're living a lie. It's not truth and it doesn't feel right, which is why our experience is not heaven on earth. But as soon as we align with our authentic self, our heart, everything feels like bliss. Everything feels wonderful. But I'm not here to tell you to follow that bliss. I'm here to tell you to follow whatever is happening currently in your now. If it is depression, if it is anger, if it is resentment, if it is guilt, whatever it happens to be, allow it. It has a place there and it's showing you something. Everything in this life is communication to yourself. It's only communication to yourself. So if you deny it or ignore it, you're basically putting blinders on for some very important information you've put there for yourself. Now, the second piece of this is that if you want to abide in bliss, if after you go through your depression and all these things and you shed that false self and you're going to abide in your heart, or you want to do this right here and now because you do have the power to do so, all you have to do is begin to follow your heart. So you get out of your head for a little bit. Take a deep breath or a few and allow yourself to feel like you're dropping into your heart. And eventually you'll feel a little bit calmer and you'll feel like you're in your heart. Now, you don't have to do this every time. I'm just showing you here for this video. But it can be helpful when we're not connected with your heart. But you can also just put your hand on your heart. You can imagine that you're connecting with your heart. You can simply get into the habit of just knowing that you're connecting with your heart. You don't have to do anything. It's almost a telepathic thing. So as you connect with your heart, you begin to listen to it, and it may tell you to do something. It may give you a nudge. It may give you a message. It may not be a verbal one, but it's a felt one, okay? And it's a message to, okay, maybe someone comes into your life and it's an opportunity for you, and they are offering you an opportunity, and your heart feels very happy. All of a sudden you feel joy. But then the brain comes in, is like, but if you take that opportunity, you have to move, and then you can't see your friends. And so it gets all of these reasons why you shouldn't do the initial thing that the heart was so happy about. The heart's not worried about the past, about all of these things. It's ready to go now. And so listening to our heart can be difficult because it doesn't take into consideration the whole entire, it does because it's got the highest intelligence. So let me tell you this, the heart has taken into account every friend, every partner, every situation that has happened, and has said, this is the ultimate, this is the best situation for you to live your most authentic, highest timeline. And so it already knows that, but there's no way in hell that your brain can do that. But you think that your brain can. So when your brain pulls you back out of the heart and is like, hey, remember all these things, what are you going to do with this? And what about that property? And what did you want to meet that person for? And don't forget this, you got to stay in this town. You can't take that opportunity. Your brain will pull you back to something you know, and then it'll create some fear. Then click, you're back into your old cycle. And you're going to keep living in the same cycle the next year, and over again. But the heart doesn't do that. The heart's very exciting. It moves quickly. It loves flow, and it has the highest intelligence, and it moves you quickly because that's how things work. And you might lose things. You might have to move. All of this, and it can be a little chaotic, some people may say, but it's always moving you so quickly into your highest timeline. So listening to the heart is not your dominant feature because you haven't been living that way. You just haven't. So I would equate it to almost if you're right-handed, right? It's like switching from, if you've always been right-handed, you're a right-handed person like I am, and suddenly you're left-handed and you don't have any experience with this. You've never used the left hand to write, to do anything with at all. But now you're told this is the hand that you have to use here. And so you begin to use it, and it's hard, and you feel weird, and you're holding it weird, and you're writing kind of wiggly and jiggly, and you're not sure if you're doing it right. And you just keep doing it, and you just keep doing it, and you just keep doing it. And then suddenly becomes easier and it becomes easier. And then suddenly you can make out what you're writing and it's making some sense. So it's kind of like that. Okay, it might be a silly analogy, but it literally feels like something foreign. But it's not so foreign, because as you begin to do it, you begin to see that you do have that skill to use that hand. You begin to see that that hand is doing something, and it is doing something correctly, and it's okay, and you can trust it. And the more that you trust it, the more that you see that that hand is actually a very special hand that you should have been using this whole time, but for some reason you were stuck on the right hand and you completely never even thought about using your left hand at all. That just didn't cross your mind because you were right-handed. So this is just a message to show you, or to dispel any myths around depression. We all probably experienced depression at some point or another. You know, when I was in school, we were taught that depression is something, even serious depression is something that most humans experience at least 2 dramatic depressive episodes in their life. That's very common. And we do get tinges of depression here and there, and anxiety is very common because this is not natural for us to feel so separate and be here. So you will experience these feelings. And so I'm here to tell you to not feel bad about them, not say that, you know, you're in a low vibration and this sucks and you need to get yourself in a high vibration. No, how about we follow that low vibration and see what's there? It's welcome here. It has a place here. Everything is allowed here. So be here and now with whatever that is. And as you do that, the vibration naturally goes up because you see what's there, and it sees that you saw it, and it dispels itself, it transmutes itself, it shows you what you need to see, it gets you angry, it gets things moving. And so anger is not a bad thing. Anger is actually something that we need here to propel us in life. It's one of the main energies that gets anything done. When someone does something in this life, a lot of times they're trying to prove something. They're trying to get revenge on something. They're angry at themselves over, you know, a failed venture or something. So they're trying to, you know, get ahead of the last thing that they did. They're angry about a situation that didn't turn out how they wanted, that sort of thing. And so the anger propels an energy that is a creative energy. So it's not a bad thing at all. No energy here is bad. It creates different things. And sometimes what it creates is just something that needs to be seen, meaning if it is a very so-called kind of angry energy, it may be something that needs to be reflected back to you for you to see, to transmute within you, to bring you back to love. So all of it is needed, all of it is wanted, all of it is welcome here. So I'm here to tell you, you don't need to just only follow your bliss, follow your depression, and follow whatever it is that's occurring in your present moment, because your present moment is your greatest gift here and now. So if you like this message, please share it with others. I love you all. We've had a ton of signups for my new offering to offer the unconditional course for limited time free. So I've had a ton of signups. I'm probably going to leave the free offer up for the rest of this week, and then I will close that, and those students that are in that course can, you know, have their time to have that course. So if you are interested in signing up for the unconditional course, if you have not heard, I am offering this course completely free to you, just the course work version on Teachable, completely free to you for a limited time to the end of this week. So if you want to get in on that, I will link that in my description and the comment section. Please sign up now. This is the best price you can get. It's free is free, right? So thank you so much for watching. I love you all.